Welcome back to Combust Astrology. My name's Liv. Let's actually go ahead and cover the Saturn and Aries transit for Cancer risings. So, if you are someone that has your rising sign, sun or moon in Cancer, feel free to listen. Okay, so you guys have been having quite a bit of a time in the past year, 3 years really, but let's talk about it. So, you're going crazy. Right, Jupiter in the 12th house, it's insane. And just like for the Jupiter for the Gemini risings, I told them you might want to seek medical help if you can't let go of stability. They got a pretty good transit coming up, but for you guys, I cannot wait to see what Jupiter in your first house looks like. But of course, we're not here to talk about Jupiter. We're here to talk about Saturn. And so, Saturn in Aries for you is more so about what are we fucking doing? You see, for lack of a better term, Saturn going through your ninth house was very much like, what is it that I'm okay with? What is it that I'm not okay with? And kind of like what's been happening around me in my life. Is that a wasp? That wasp is no longer alive. And my window smells like raid. Okay, so Jupiter in your first house. That's going to be fun. But of course, we're here for Saturn. Sorry, got to focus. They can't let the ADHD win. So Saturn in Aries was in your ninth house. Saturn in Aries. Saturn in Pisces was in your ninth house. And let's actually talk about Saturn in Pisces because that's how we talk about Saturn in Aries, right? Saturn in Pisces sat in your ninth house along with the north and south node, and it caused, well, not along, while the north and south node were in your 10th and 4th house, and then Chiron was there. So it was like, it was random jobs. It was like, everything's a hustle. Everything's a struggle. Work-life balance. Tragic. Truly tragic, actually. Like, having to take care of other people and not being able to just be able to take care of yourself. I feel like that's like the biggest thing. And then to top it off, the Saturn in Pisces wasn't really direct in a way that like lets you realize it was that. So if you weren't doing astrology, you'd probably be like, what the fuck is going on? Because communicating with people, they don't understand what's going on. And then the fact that your 12th house is lit up with Jupiter, and then it's Gemini. So now it's like, it's so much thinking. I don't know how your head didn't hurt the whole time. Still hurt. But if it was anything, it was just that you couldn't really move. The square to the 6th house meant that like if you go somewhere, you couldn't stay there too long. You had to come back. It was a constant notion of change. This was a restless transit. So now, when we skedaddle, when we skip into the new transit of Saturn and Aries, now this is sitting in your 10th house with Neptune, and it's like, all right, fuck the family. We need to get this shit together. We need to figure out, right? Versus Saturn in that ninth, third house is like, I think I said 10th, 4th. I meant to say 9th, 3rd. It's like the communication, like you couldn't really get it all out. There's so much to experience, to understand. You've grown tremendously, without a doubt. Because Saturn opposing your Virgo 3rd house, God forbid you have a Mercury in Virgo. Yeah, you can't think little-minded anymore, small-minded anymore. You have to look at the bigger picture, and you have to realize that sometimes silence is the best answer. And your intuition is pretty on point. So you don't need to overthink as much. Just go with it. So here we have trines forming up between Saturn, your 2nd house, and your 6th house. So now this is like, go outside. Well, bring a camera with you. Be seen. Try not to work as hard. Because this trine, especially as Jupiter enters your second house, is like, I'm getting money, duh. But you don't have to go out of your way to work as hard. Saturn and Neptune, the conjunction is slow and steady. But it's like you guys could just like work 10 jobs. Hold on, my cat is like climbing a tree or something. Okay, she was indeed. So Saturn and Neptune conjuncting is asking you to have long-term stability because it's like, hey, we got to hustle, but like the North Node showed you that like you had to hustle, but I don't think this has to be such a hustle. I think this could be more provocative. Hustle smart. You don't need to work as hard. Pluto's in your 8th house. So it's like if it hasn't already, the money's coming. And you'll be very much in touch with people that have power, very much in touch with people that have the access to what it is that you're looking for. But you're just, I don't want to say you weren't ready, but I think it's more so you just were silly. As Uranus has been sitting in your 2017, in your 11th house since 2017, it's been kind of like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you're moving wrong. And when Uranus first entered, I believe the Saturn was in Libra or Scorpio, one or the other. Maybe it was Sag. But it was in one of these houses, which was really teaching you about home and your everyday and kind of telling you like, what are you doing? Because what you thought was real was not. And so Uranus did that. Jupiter obviously did its big number being in your 12th house the past year. But Uranus was really trying to destabilize you so you could be free. And that's, I think, where we come here to the ultimate point of view of Saturn and Aries for Cancer placements. You guys aren't supposed to work that hard. And I don't know that you guys fully have come to terms with that. Like, you actually shouldn't be as overly worked. I will always say this. You guys are the smartest rising sign, in my opinion, because there's a lot of components of intelligence that comes with you guys having your 12th house here, where it's at, your Scorpio placement, your 3rd house, and then also just a simple fact that your 8th house is Aquarius. I like these spots for these planets, for these signs, because I think that it really does uncover the chaos of the subconscious, that nothing is ever as it seems, the ability to mask trauma, probably sexual, and then last but not least, the infinite universe, the parallel worlds, the Aquarian 8th house. So this is always going to be a rising of a person that isn't just, you never know. It's never that simple. It's never, they're not dumb. And they always expect the unexpected, or at least they will be aware of it. They won't doubt something, right? I think that is a really smart rising for that reason. So with you guys being the smartest, you got to kind of understand as well that you don't have to work as hard. And I think that is the overall theme of the next 22 years of Pluto in your chart. It being in the 8th house and the sextile to your 10th is most likely going to show you that. And as the smartest rising sign, I think that it would really behoove you to start thinking in, how do I do it? Stop thinking in how do I do it versus how do we do it. Community will go a long way for you. People, not isolating. But I feel like you guys have done that already. Taurus in the 11th is definitely going to set you up to be someone that people are going to want to see. So I don't doubt that. Now, another thing I do want to cover for you guys, because each one of these rising signs are different. I read this like it's a chart. and I know the transit, but we'll have a bunch of time with this anyway. Um, your seventh house, because it's usually where the Saturn wants to be in, it's going to feel better as Jupiter comes into here, and it has its initial square. It's gonna sting, but it'll feel better in the seventh house because it's like closure. I knew you were a piece of shit. I knew you were a whore. You lying, stealing son of a bitch. I don't think I'll ever get monetized. I knew that you were cheating. I knew that you never really loved me. I knew that, well, they were overworking me. I knew it. And if you were paying attention to all the weird shit happening when Saturn was in Pisces, then your intuition has gotten so much stronger than it already has. And so it's just confirmations. And with Jupiter in that first, I think this will be like that whole before you die, you see your whole life type of thing. I think Saturn will come in here, kick in, and just give you a quick 30 seconds of every lie you've ever been told. From all the people you thought you could trust between your own life, at work, your career, and then at home, and then immediately show you a new path where you can actually have stable friendships with people that are not just going to constantly take advantage of you. Right? Now, another part, relationships. When Saturn was in Pisces, this was some chaos. Okay? It was some chaos. I will say also, as being the smartest, I don't think this is the sluttiest, but I do think that you guys are undercover streetwalkers. And a lot of you are actually retired, hopefully after the Saturn and Pisces transit, you actually committed to something, or you long to, because the Pisces ninth house trining the fifth house of casual sex is kind of forcing you to be like, oh, I'm either going to completely overload or I'm finally going to commit, because the fifth house in Scorpio is very much traumatized. And so anytime I've ever read this chart, the person's a virgin or they've been through the ringer, because of the fact that you're keeping a facade of stability. It's like power dynamics. And so with your 2, 5, 8, and 11 being fixed signs, it's kind of just like, well, people are going to see me as this person. I spend a lot of money, and I'm also very smart, and I'm consistent. But they probably don't see this side, unless I'm a stripper, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't come out, right? So Saturn and Pisces did a good job at removing the camouflage in a lot of us, where we thought things were okay, but they weren't, right? Saturn is the police. Polizy. You should watch the TV show Dark. And then Pisces is, well, fantasy. It is drugs. It is being lost. It's the 12th house. And so the Polizy and the 12th house don't get along. And I've always said, while Saturn was in Pisces, it's like the cops just coming in and turning on the lights at a club. But in your ninth house, the long term of what it is that you've always dreamed of is going to incorporate dating, because it trined that fifth house. It also trined you, who you are. So relationships were a thing. And at first, I couldn't really pinpoint it too well, because I was like, what is with all the Cancer risings that I know either having insane amount of flings or getting married? And then I started realizing, oh, Saturn and Neptune at the same time trining the fifth house is like, I'm going to live my deepest, darkest, sluttiest, or princessy, or knighty, like knight fantasy. And that trine is what this was. So now that Saturn is moving away and it's back into, I think I'm going to title one of these like YouTube things Streetwalker. Now that it's moved back into, now it's moved forward into Aries, this is cemented. So you're either going into this for a little bit single, or you're going into this in a long-term relationship, because that opposition to the fourth means we need that family, that home life to be peaceful. Like, who cares about what's going on outside of home and work? Because we don't want to work that much anyway. So, with that being said, I try to keep these all 10 to 15 minutes so no one feels like I hate their rising sign the most. Cough, cough. I'm not going to say it actually. I hope that if anything from this transit, you guys are finally able to just breathe. The smartest rising sign shouldn't have to work that much or as much. You guys are smart, Let your money work for you. Let the people that are so-called your friends work for you. With that being said, let's talk about some updates. So, I'm trying to make these daily videos in the morning. You can find me on Instagram for astrology, daily flashcards, kind of. I use AI and I kind of look at what transits really matter and I try to dictate them. I try to like upload them for everyone because, to be honest, not every transit's important. Venus sextile Pluto. Okay, it's like 7 hours. You'll be fine. Granted, something happens, then you'll know it's the transit. But like for the most part, it's not Pluto squaring Venus for like a week and a half. And then I upload videos on TikTok, Combust Astrology. I should use past tense because I haven't in a while, but I'm gonna try again. It takes energy. And then obviously, if you want to book a reading, I'm not gonna lie, please don't. You can use my website. You can also check the links below. I teach online. I teach in person. I have a podcast, which could turn into astrology dating. I don't know. And I kind of review the month on there. And then I also have some series here that whenever the weather isn't so disgusting outside, I will go out and record. I started a series recording the Venus signs, and I know I've only covered 3 out of the 12. No, actually, I think it's 2. And I will try. I promise. I will try. It's just, I just feel like being creative, and then sometimes it's just gone. And I'm not really doing this for the money. I'm not really doing this for more clients. I just like astrology and I like talking about it. So I wanted to share and I enjoy teaching. Anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And if you're a Cancer rising and you have Saturn in your 10th house, good luck. Work less, smile more.